So talking about organizations that are actually doing something right, we had three extensions that have taken place over the past couple of days, starting at the beginning of the week. We had Pablo Lopez extend with the Twins for 4 years, 73.5 million. Hunter Green, 6 years, 53 million with a seventh year option, and Logan Webb for 5 years, 90 million. Which of these stands out to you most?
Hunter Green. That feels like a steal for Hunter Green.
I
Like
mean,
53 million? But
yeah,
is it just to get through arbitration pretty much or
six gets through arbitration, seventh, I think, gets first year of free agency.
okay. I mean, I don't know. It feels like I don't know, 53 million for a young and budding starting pitcher. It feels like a steal for the Reds. And it locks him down for the next 6 to 7 years because it's a club option, right?
Yeah.
So it locks him down, assuming he's good, for the next 7 years, and he's supposed to be your ace going forward. And I mean, that's what you need for a pretty cheap contract.
So I'm looking at it right now. The way it's structured is he'll make 1 million this year, which I think was already agreed upon, 3 million next year, 6 million in 2025, 8 million in 26, 15 in 27, 16 and 28. And then if they pick up the club option in 29, it's 21 million.
Okay. I mean, I think it's a complete. I mean, I think it's a complete win for the Reds. I'm not saying like the Hunter Green lost at all, but I think it's a complete win for the Reds because signed him to a pretty cheap contract, right? You
Mhm.
lock him down for 7 years, and you have your ace of the future for the future. It's like the Nats going back and signing K-Bear for to an 8 year deal. Lock down your franchise catcher for the next 8 years. It's a perfect deal.
So
I'm
on one of our YouTube videos, this commenter named Run to the Hills commented about how it was our video from a while back about the Braves extension of Sean Murphy doesn't make him a dynasty. And I would like to point out the fact that he's basically talking about how these guys aren't ring chasing. They're basically getting their first, they're getting their career locked up financially. It's basically saying you have this safety net to fail, but you're also restricting how much you can make in the future.
yeah.
And I feel like this falls under that exact category because it's like, hey, you know what? If he flames out, if his arm just, isn't that, he has a safety net for his career, which is good. It's always good to have that. But it's also, if Hunter Green, turns into this ace, he's getting paid dirt money in
Yeah.
terms of major league money.
Yeah. I definitely agree. It's about what do you want? Do you want the financial security, especially if you do flame out? You're a flamethrower. That arm is not going to be able to sustain that tension, and Hunter Green will have an arm injury at some point through his career. It's guaranteed to happen.
He
You
already
don't
had
want it to
Tommy
happen,
John.
but yeah, exactly. So like, but it's probably he. There's going to be pokes and needles throughout this contract. It's just a matter of can he sustain it? Can the Reds sustain it? And if he turns into that ace, he's going to be like you said. It's he's the ace. It's dirt cheap in the long run.
So I'd like to move on to another extension, Logan Webb. I think it's a good extension. Great move by the Giants. You actually got to spend money on someone for a long-term period this offseason, or I guess this season. It gets him through his age 32 season, or 31. He becomes a free agent at 32. It's a great signing. He's been their best pitcher so far this year, not in terms of results, just but in terms of quality.
Yeah,
Alex Cobb looked really good yesterday. The Giants went to the Marlins. Tom did not write actually what the series result was. I think the Giants took 2 of 3 though. He just wrote that please end my suffering. Do you think Michael Conforto gets traded at the trade deadline?
I I think they need a clean house. I mean, outside of I guess Logan Webb, but if they're not competing, and we talked about it earlier, we don't know if the Diamondbacks Giants race that we had built up in our head is really going to be that much of a race. And if it comes to the deadline, move Peterson, move Conforto, some of these like Sean Mania, like some of these 1 year type of guys, move them, try and get some prospects, try and get something because they don't. I don't know where their prospect system ranks, but they're not a highly ranked prospect system, and they're basically in the same. They are in the same scenario the Nats are in, but worse.
I don't know what's worse. I think with a couple of
But no, no,
revamps
no.
of Sorry, go for it.
The what I'm trying to go with is in 2021 when the Nats blew everything up for the first time, and then they did it again the next year, but we don't talk about it. They had stars that you could get a lot from. Moving Conforto and Jock Peterson and Sean Manaea is not going to get you the same moving Trey Turner and Max Scherzer is going to get.
Yeah, I think that's fair, but it's also I think the Giants with those talents are a little bit closer to competing than the Nationals were because the Nationals were going to lose those guys within a couple of years. Like Trey Turner was a 22 free agent, Scherzer was a 21 free agent. The only one they didn't really weren't going to lose for a long time was Juan Soto, but that's kind of what restocked their farm system, right? Because Trey Turner sends two players right to the major league level, in Josiah Gray and Keibert Ruiz,
Yep.
and then Max Scherzer was in that trade as well, and he's kind of what supplied that. The thing with the Giants is they have a group of players to build around that they could win with, right? It's just I don't think the Giants. We talked about this in sevenfold. The fact that the Giants didn't sell at the last trade deadline set them back this year because
Yeah.
losing a couple seasons would have put them in a better direction. Because right now, Mitch Haniger's still out. Jock Peterson's out. Austin Slater's out. Roberto Perez is out. And I just Alex Wood's out. Luke Jackson's recovering from TJ. So like right now, you have Alex Cobb, Sean Manaea. I don't know about DeSclafani's under a 3-year contract, so you still have him for another year. You have Ross Stripling. Like, these are all guys that could garner a prospect or two if you pair them together. St. Louis Cardinals, you got a prospect or two.
That's fair. I mean, what do you think? What I'm gonna throw it out there because what package would the Giants have to put together to get a Mason Wynn type player?
Okay, here's the thing, right? I don't think Mason Wynn's the same caliber as Jordan Walker. I think
That's true. I agree.
I think we kind of overestimate his bat to some degree.
That's fair.
And I don't know.
But
I
his defense isn't all there yet. He still makes some mistakes in the field, but it makes up his arm makes up for a lot of mistakes that he does make.
Mhm.
I do agree. I don't think the bat is fully there yet, but he still has like a couple. He still has a year or two, I think, until he's. I think he still, in my opinion, I think he has a year before he's actually like MLB ready.
So right now, Mason Wynn's projected as a 50 future value player. Obviously, that doesn't inherently mean anything. We've seen people can break out of that, or they could be worse than that. Past 2 seasons in the minor leagues, he's been a league average bat. This year, he's at a 50 WRC plus. Not great. That's only 79 plate appearances. He could be fine. I think that's one of those you could really. You only have to deal maybe like an Alex Cobb if he's very good. I don't remember the exact contract that the Giants signed Alex Cobb to, but I want to say it was a 2-year deal. Yeah, he signed 2-year, $20 million deal last
I mean,
offseason. So, like, that's a guy that could be sent over, and you could probably get a 1-for-1 there.
maybe. I think I don't know. I think the Cardinals just want to keep their prospects, so I think they would ask for a little more. But on a
You're
straight
not
up,
in
I
position
agree with
to.
that.
You're not in a
That's
position.
fair,
The Cardinals, if
especially
you want
with
to transition there, like they're not in a position to be asking so much of their prospects. They don't have pitching. Teams can be
yeah,
like, hey, here's one pitcher. We want one prospect. Cardinals be like, you know what? We pump out really good prospects. You're gonna have to pay more for that. Other teams are kind of with like, okay, we'll just go to a different team with pitching.
yeah,
And the Cardinals have to be like, wait. We need that pitching. Because right now, their pitching's atrocious. It has
yeah.
been
I mean,
horrible. Miles Michaelis had his best start of the season so far, and it was 3 earned runs.
yeah,
The only bright spot's been Jordan Montgomery. He got touched up in his last start. Jack Flaherty has no control. Jake Woodford and Steven Matz are just not good. Like that starting rotation's bad. Adam Wainwright should be back at some point, but is that really the reinforcement you want?
it's the reinforcement they need. I'm not gonna say it's the reinforcement they want, but it's the one they need. He's their clubhouse guy, and to have him actually be out on the field is very important.
Mhm.
Um, uh, they both these teams got to do something because both these. I'm not gonna say both these teams lack direction. The Giants lack direction, and I think dealing some of these this Conforto Cobb if he is continues on his pace, Sean Manaea if he can figure out some of the things he needs to figure out, it's necessary for them to move these guys because like we said last year, if they had traded Rodon, They'd be in a much better situation right now than they are currently in.
Because remember, if they didn't make that last 2 week push, they wouldn't be a 500 team last year. And
Yeah.
like right now, the Cardinals, their Jack Flaherty has their best starting ERA of a 2.95 with a 5.48 FIP, which is the second worst. This is because he's walked the same amount of batters he struck out. It's like if we look, the Giants and Cardinals are two teams that we should pair together for trade deadline. And that's if the Cardinals will be in it. They'll be fine.